Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for you, and welcome to another Road to the Las Vegas Open 2018. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you tuned into the last one where I very much gave you just a brief overview of the event, but if you didn't, I'll put a link down below and you can jump over and check that video out. And again, hopefully this will be a pretty short video, but I am today going to go through a little bit of detail about the list that I will be taking. And before I get started though, just to let you know, it really helps me tons if you do hit the sub button, and also if you like this video, that helps me tons and tons. You can also follow me on Instagram. There's the description of how to find me there, on probably up there or somewhere. You can also catch up with me on Facebook, and also I want to say that you can also support me through Patreon, and big thank you to the guys that do. You guys are absolute bosses and you make this possible, so thank you very much. And if you do want to support me on Patreon, you can see where you can catch me there. But into this video on the Las Vegas Open 2018. Right guys, so today I'm going to talk about lists. I'm going to get my list up on my Battlescribe, so we can kind of go through it. It's not a simple list, there's quite a lot of depth to it. And before I get started on that, I had loads and loads of comments on the last video about what I should take. As always, it was totally split, and that was quite cool because there's never a clear-cut answer. So I put the question out: should I take my Tyranids that I'm particularly happy with, that I've played now a few times, and I thoroughly enjoy the list and I think it's really strong, or should I go for demons that have got a little bit of love in the form of a new codex and have definitely got some really strong combos in there? And with my demon army that I've already got in place, which is a Nurgle army, which are definitely the flavour and the ones I think you'll see most of, the buffs that they've now got with a few tweaks to my list makes it incredibly strong. I will say, however, in the back of my mind I very much had the disgusting combination of deep striking Mortarion. Now I made that video pretty much seconds before Frontline Gaming leaked. I don't know about it's a leak, but pretty much told us that that will be FAQ'd, and that's fantastic for the game. I'm really pleased about that, because deep striking units that are demons but are outside of the demon codex would be a real game-changing moment. And as much as we're going to have to deal with that, this is 8th edition and things are changing all the time, deep striking Primarchs and taking away probably their only weakness, which is that they need to get up across the board, would have been a real problem, and would have changed the way that a competitive build needs to function. And as much as that would have given me an incredibly strong list, I'm pleased that that's going to go in time for the Las Vegas Open. And as a side note, I'm also really pleased that we decided not to allow the Demon Codex in the Last Chance Open as well, because that potentially wouldn't have had time to be FAQ'd for that, and I just don't think that's a fun place to be. So for a competitive point of view, yes, it changed my direction on definitely what I was thinking about, but I think for the game it's really good. But I digress slightly, and let's jump into the list and talk you through it. So I have gone for a brigade detachment, and the reason why I've gone for a brigade detachment for Tyranids is I think that, like the same as most armies, the Tyranid army really does love having lots of CPs, so that really helps. And I think the more you can get, the more fun things you can do, and the more useful your list is. So I've gone for a brigade detachment, and it is a Kronos Tyranid brigade detachment. So it consists of 2 flying Hive Tyrants. Now the first one has got 2 sets of Twin Link Devourers, which is 24 shots, and it has wings. The second one has exactly the same, good shooting unit. The Kronos doesn't really affect them, they're generally not sitting still. What it does give them is you can stick the Warlord trait on one of them, the Soul Eater Warlord trait, and then because they're an advancing type unit, it does mean then that you've got some real good anti-psyker support, which is great. I've got a Neurophrope. The Neurophrope does have the relic of the Norm Crown, so because he is going to be a very defensive unit, he's going to sit back, chuck his aura out to make sure that we've got real good control of anything sitting in the backfield. So then in troops, you need 6 troops choices in a brigade, and I've gone for 4 units of 3 Rippers. Rippers are an awesome unit because they can deep strike in, take an objective. They're a small stubby unit, so they're hard to be seen at times, and they can really go out and do some work for you. So I think they're not to be underestimated as a unit. I've then gone for 2 units of 15 Termagants. The reason for that is that it means that I am under the 20-man unit, which means that I don't give away Reaper, which is really important again. So Reaper is a secondary objective that someone can select within the ITC missions, and you can get up to 4 of those. So in my list, having 2 units of 15 rather than a unit of 30 means that I'm only able to give away 2 points from both of those units, rather than potentially a lot more. So that's my troops choice. The Termagants are there very much as a bubble wrap and as a screen. It's not the best screen, but I think it's a screen that should do the job. With maybe 1 or 2 Ripper squads that hold in there, you can take some board supremacy there. So jumping into the elites, again you need 3. A lot of the strength comes from this particular section, and in mine it comes from the first one, which is the Hive Guard unit. So I've gone for a unit of 6 Hive Guard. Hive Guard, I would say, are probably one of the best units in the game, and particularly within the Tyranid Codex. The main reason, and we could talk a lot about this, is they do not need line of sight. I have gone for all of the Impaler cannons. 36-inch range really does mean that you control a lot of the middle ground again, which is fantastic. Not needed line of sight means you can hide them and avoid from them to be alpha struck as easily. Still possible, but a lot harder. They put out a lot of pain as well. They have a strong strength 8 gun that does multiple damage. Again, that's great. Because they're infantry, they can shoot that twice using the stratagem, and because, again, of the Kronos Hive Fleet adaptation, they can also reroll their ones if they stand still, which is what you want to do because they're a heavy weapon. So a really powerful, hard-hitting unit that will do a lot of work for me. I've then got in the rest of the elites section, I've got Elictor. Elictor, another deep striking unit, pretty small, can go in, do a little bit of weak character assassination. They're not particularly strong, they're not particularly good, but actually if they've got a very weak buffing unit at the back, the Elixir can deal with him, or at least hold him up, so that's pretty good. I've got a Pyrovore. Pyrovore is the cheapest unit within the elite section, but also he's got a heavy flamer with a decent range there, so he can sit in the backfield. Anything that comes towards me can get some nice little auto hits on, so it's a decent little unit. I think it's not to be underestimated, and it still does a job, even though the majority of the thing is there to be cheap and cheerful. Moving to the fast attack, and in the fast attack I have 15 gargoyles. Again, same reason, would like to have a few more, can have a unit of up to 30, but a unit of 15 pretty much does what I want it to do, but it means it's not going to give away as many points in that secondary missions. And then I have 2 Mucilid Spores. Now the reason for the gargoyles, I should tell you, is they can deep strike along with the Hive Tyrants. So what it means is you can give yourself a little bit of a portable screen. And the main reason for that screen is against armies like demons, like very just strong psychic powered armies that potentially want to smite down your Hive Tyrants. This gives you a really good strength against that. And the main reason is Hive Tyrants are very resilient against shooting, but psychic powers, and not just smite, any psychic powers that can do multiple mortal wounds will really hurt them. Now having something in there particularly that's stopping stuff that's targeting the closest model will buy you a bit of time, and that's what you need with those Flyrants. So that's the reason from there. They will stop some of the charges. A lot of the time you'll just mow them down, but they do they are a little bit of a mobile screen, so I think they have a really clever job, and also what they can do is potentially jump in, get a lucky first turn charge, and they can tie up some units if they go into the right stuff. If they're going into really weak chaff, they can absolutely tie them up. Mucilid spores, again, the cheapest unit. They're filling up that brigade formation, or that detachment should I say. We'll jump into the heavy support. Now in the heavy support I have got 3 units of Bivores, I have 1 unit of 3 and 2 single Bivores. Now again, Bivores are the cheapest unit within a heavy support section, but also they are a real good solid unit. Like the Hive Guard, they do not need line of sight. Like the Hive Guard, they have range. They have even more range, so they can really reach out and do damage straight away, and they do mortal wounds. The other thing that the Bivores can do, which is a very useful tactic, is that if they miss, they create spore mines that you do not need the points within your reinforcement points. That means you can again be an irritation by laying some spore mines that again are the closest target that they have to deal with, or can still do mortal wounds. So there is a good little tactic to do that as well from time to time. So I like the Bivores. They definitely add something if you need that real kind of take off that last particular wound there. They won't do as much damage as a Hive Guard, but at times they'll be more reliable than a Hive Guard because it's mortal wounds that they are putting out. So that's your Bivores. So that's the end of the brigade detachment. And then have a Supreme Command detachment. Now within this detachment I have gone for the Kraken Hive Fleet. Now straight away a few people might go, let's press the dislike button. I know you want to, guys, don't do it, please don't do it. It hurts me deep inside. No, it doesn't. If you want to do the dislike button, do it, go ahead, I know you will anyway. So, but the Kraken detachment, what that gives me is some slight different buffs. It gives me some more aggressive buffs, and it gives me something that potentially can do a little bit of work. So basically the Kraken one means that I can, one, I'm a little bit faster because I'm more reliable in my run, so I roll 3d6, take the highest one for my run roll, so you're more likely to get that 6. Makes these fly runs potentially a little bit quicker around the board if they need to be, but on the whole it's not what they need it for, because the other thing that you get is you can leave combat and then recharge. Because these units I've got in this attachment all have fly, they can still shoot when they leave combat, but now they can shoot when they leave combat and recharge. It means they're really, really flexible, and it means they're a great irritation unit in the back, well, in the enemy's backfield, doing damage, but also, you know, being able to be flexible. So I've gone for 3 flying Hive Tyrants. These ones are slightly different. So the first one I've got has got adrenal glands, he has toxin sacs, and he has 2 bone swords. He also has one set of Devourers, which is 12 shots. Now the reason why he has the bone swords is because I will change them into the Reaper of Obliterex. Now what that means is that gives me an incredibly killy Hive Tyrant. And it gives me the option of a couple of things. I've got the stratagems available to me to actually zip that guy straight up the middle of the board first turn for first turn charges that way. And actually sometimes that will even be a more reliable first turn charge than deep striking the guy in. Now that all depends on what sort of shooting and what sort of thing you come against, but actually if you come across an elite army that hits you very, very hard but doesn't have a lot of screen, this guy can potentially run in there first turn and absolutely chop something up. This guy does so much damage with all the stacks from the bonuses from the Reaper of Obliterex, from the Toxin Sacs, from the, you know, this guy will do some serious work. If you want him to attack twice, you can crack the stratagem, he can attack twice, and he really will take out anything in the game. Primarchs, Knights, no problem at all. He can take him out quite easily in 1 round of combat. It's pretty brutal what this guy can do. He still needs to roll 6s, and they still need to fail a save, which they will get some sort of save, generally, but this guy can quite easily and will often dispatch really scary units. So that's what he's there for. But if you don't want to use all the killiness, he can still just drop down with the other guys, use his Devourers, still just be an irritation unit. He still has that mode as well. I then have another Hive Tyrant, again wings. This one has got 2 sets of Death Spitters. Now the Death Spitters for an overall are not as good as the Devourers. So if you're just running one Flying Hive Tyrant, I would tend to always favour the Devourers as your go-to weapon. The 24 strength 6 shots is better than the 12 strength 7 shots, even though they're -1. It still will be better against the majority of targets and will be your better option to go for. However, I've got a lot of Flyrants in this list, so to have that slight better range, to have that slightly better AP and have that slightly better strength does give me the ability to hunt strength 7 slightly more effectively when I need to, and it's around flexibility within this list. It gives me that option, so I think that's really useful. So I've gone for that on that one, and on the last Flying Hive Tyrant I have just 2 sets of Devourers and I have a set of monstrous Rending Claws. Now monstrous Rending Claws are actually pretty good in combat, so what you've got overall there, so I have 5 Flying Hive Tyrants. Of those 5 Flying Hive Tyrants, I actually have I have 2 that are very good combat units, and then I have the rest that are very shooty units. So yeah, it's a solid list basically. So it has a lot of shooting, has a lot of combat ability. It's got the ability to do damage. It's got the ability to hold up. It's got the ability to do range shooting. It's got the ability to hold ground. It's got the ability to use lots of different stratagems, do lots of different things on the board. It can play the mission. It can do damage. It's fairly resilient. Very difficult to deal with Flying Hive Tyrants. I think it's a very good list. It doesn't always scream power to people, even though 5 Flying Hive Tyrants is still incredibly powerful. It doesn't always scream it, but when you get it on the board and you see the amount of variety of units you've got there, when you see the flexibility, the manoeuvrability, the speed, what you've got there is you've got a list that can do pretty much anything. It's also very good at dealing with what I would call the meta. It's very good against Eldar. It absolutely mows through toughness 3 units, and because it can deep strike within a realistic period of time, that toughness 3 screens, they won't have their -1 to hit, because you're going to mow through them. Because you're going to jump in within their range majority of the times, you're just going to annihilate them. So look, it's a good powerful list. I've decided to go for it over the demons. I'd be really interested to hear what your thoughts are on the list. I think it will do really well, but I would be so interested to hear what you think. It's not too late for me to have tweaks. So I've been speaking to a lot of the solid, really good Tyranid players, and they are going for more Flying Hive Tyrants, and less quality in shooting with the rest of their army, so less sort of Biovores, less Hive Guard, gives them the opportunity to take more Flyrants. Personally, I think that maybe pigeonholes yourself into a place where you're a little bit too one-dimensional. Also for me, it means you don't have some very hard-hitting shooting units, like the Hive Guard, like the Biovores, that will do a job that those Flying Hive Tyrants don't possibly have the opportunity to do. They also are going with Leviathan on quite a lot of their Flying Hive Tyrants, and the reason why that is because Leviathan gives you an additional 6-up save after your original 4+ save. That on paper does make them a little bit more survivable. So I suppose one of the questions that I am thinking in my head is actually, is it better for me to lose a little bit of that attacking offensive strength through the Hive Fleet Kraken and the ability to jump out of combat and recharge over maybe 3 Flying Hive Tyrants that are that much more survivable, that much more resilient? That's a question for you guys. If you've got thoughts on that, again, put them in the comments below. It really does help me out tons, and it's great to kind of hear what your thoughts are. But thank you so much again for everybody that commented on the last video. It really helped me out with this decision. You guys are amazing. I love you to bits, and I can't wait to let you know how I get on at the Las Vegas Open. It's coming up now in just pretty much a week, to be honest. Well, it's about a week and a half. I'll be out there, and I'll be documenting a lot of the journey and a lot of how I get on, with some commentary on the games, and give you a real insight on how it goes. But it's not too late to make some changes, guys, so be a part of this and be an impact in what I bring to the Las Vegas Open 2018. Thanks for watching guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.